shadows we grow weak. In silence we whisper low, fearing the power's cruel blow. Chains on our tongues, they bind tight. In the shadows we lose sight. Eyes watching the darkened night, to ticket rules with all might. Voices tremble, hearts in pain. Freedom feels like distant rain. Oh, the fear that grips the soul when the night takes its toll. Prison bars for words we speak, under shadows we grow weak. Hushed cries in the midnight air, lives caught in the web of despair. Each day a fearful game we play, hiding thoughts we dare not say. Will the dawn break with light, chase away this endless night? Or will shadows take our call and let our spirit fall? Oh, the fear that grips the soul when the night takes its toll. Prison bars for words we speak, under shadows we grow weak. Hush cries in the midnight air, lives caught in the web of despair. Each day a fearful game we play, hiding thoughts we dare not say. Will the dawn break with light, chase away this endless night? Or will shadows take our call and let our spirit fall? Oh, the fear that grips the soul when the night takes its toll. Prison bars for words we speak, under shadows we grow weak.
Good evening. And if you've come here to see Ed the Techie, you will not be disappointed. You just have to give me a second. I do not know what has gone. Oh, I know what has gone wrong because I had personal issues on my side, which meant I forgot to copy and put in Ed's new URL. Now, just bear with me, people. I know. We're completely unprofessional here, and yes, we need a producer. There you go, Ed the Techie's back in the house.
Good evening. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well.
I can hear myself.
Yes, you can. Yeah, that's better, isn't it?
Yes, that's much better.
Yes. Right. So here we go, people. Ed was invisible, but he's now He's now come in from his interdimensional space. He's coalesced into a single solid being. Well, I think he's single and I think he's solid.
I'm definitely single. I'm not so sure about solid.
He was pretty solid the last time I saw him.
Feeling a bit discombobulated at the moment, but that's everything going on in the world.
Aren't we all, mate? Aren't we all? So, yeah. Right. What was I going to say? If you've come here looking for UAPs and UFOs, then you're in the right place. Well done. That's good. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. I've actually got eight headings. 8 headings, Ed.
Cool. Well,
Um,
you're driving tonight.
oh, am I? Right. Okay.
Well,
Well,
you're the one with the new theories and ideas, so I'm here to listen.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I always try and come up with a new theory. So yeah. Ugh. Well, I tell you what. Let's start with MH370 because that could be associated with some kind of UFO thing. Because
You're not going to go off into a rant
no,
about Aston Ford.
I'm not going to go off into a rant. I mean, the guy has thoughts. I have mine. They don't merge. Don't even go through the same portal.
That's
But
putting it mildly.
yeah. So he that video's come back up again, and people are he's saying it proves that portals can exist. And I mean, the guy he purports to be a physicist and an engineer or something, but I can't imagine a physicist that would ever purport to be an engineer. But
Well, I mean, he claims to have some sort of proof of a working over unity energy device or gravity device of some description or something, but yeah, he's not exactly publicizing it.
no, and this is the point. You know, I mean, Corridor Crew did look at that, and these guys are CGI experts, and they went through it in quite a lot of detail. And I can't remember if I did that episode with you or if I did that one with Ben. I think I maybe did it with Ben.
I think that was one with Ben.
Yeah, we went through the MH370, and we pretty much concluded that the video was fake. But he still seems to think it is good. I'm quiet. My goodness, not like me. See if Windows has done this again. Bear with me, people.
Right.
Yes,
Good
it
evening,
freaking
chat room.
has. Right, am I better
Through
now?
this specs. Hi guys. Shalini.
Windows had turned me down.
Oh, you're really loud now. Okay.
Yeah, by
Cool.
loud in your ears, but I should be okay for them.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I can just turn you down a smidgen.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, perfect. Thank you, people. Right, I am perfect. I know, but it's it's a cross. I've got to bear it. Someone has to.
Shut up.
So, good evening, Alphabet Cat, Shalini, Elusive, Militant, Nectaridus, or Nectaridus, Ray. Who else we got? Bex, hi Bex. Dreadeye and Julie. I think that's it. At the moment. I haven't seen Beats and Tapes for a while. I don't know where he is. Maybe he's on holiday or something. Did he say he was going on holiday? Anyway, I hope he's okay.
Well, it's holiday season, so it's a reasonable assumption.
Yeah, I had a spat with Soldier today about chemtrails, and I think he's going to come on the show and we're going to discuss it. So that should be quite interesting. Well, when I say a spat, you know, I'm not a great fan. I can't see. I mean, you know, change my mind. He might change my mind. We'll see how it goes. But you know, there's nothing wrong with having a chat, and it's always a lot easier when you're just having a chat with someone rather than trying to do it over Twitter or something. Especially when you don't have a blue tick, because I'm limited to. I don't know. Is it 256 characters, Ed?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's not very many.
Right. Let's get into the what do you call it? UAPs, UFOs. So, I tell you what. Let's go back to Trump, because it was Trump, wasn't it, that started the Space Force?
I always thought that was a bit weird.
Yeah. What do you? Well, yeah. What's all that about? Why would you start a Space Force when you don't have any kind of, well, the only spacecraft I think the military's got is that kind of unmanned mini space shuttle thing.
X-81 or X-1
yeah,
or something.
And it goes up there. Goes up there for like a couple of years at a time, you know. So I don't know what it's doing up there, but probably just spying on people.
Well, they've got plenty. I mean, if you want to spy on people from space, you put a satellite up and
Yeah.
then you don't have to worry about having a craft that you. I mean, it's the whole thing's fully automated, so chances are it's got robotic arms and all kinds of other
Hmm.
things that allow controllers to do whatever. So they could be doing long-term experiments, they could be building something, they could be, I don't know, looking at the Dark Knight satellite. It's I mean, the American space program is a bit of a joke though, because they've got two astronauts that have been stranded on the space station. Um, then they do, I think their mission was originally supposed to be 2 weeks, and it looks like they're going to be up there for 6 months.
Yeah, they
And
won't.
one of the
I don't think they'll be back until February
mm,
2025.
but one of the that's actually causing a lot of problems for one of the astronauts. I can't remember her name. But there's a man and a woman. It's the
Hmm.
woman,
Oh,
and
it
she's
would be the
having
woman.
also. Well, no, I mean, she's having some pretty serious physiological issues because humans are not supposed to exist in zero gravity, and
Yeah,
there's no aspect of being in the zero G environment that is healthy for a human.
yeah.
Um, and she's having, I'd have to look up the article, but she's basically sounds like she's having um, some pretty hardcore neurological issues.
Oh, that sounds
Um,
not good.
yeah, no, I'd have to look up the story, but I mean it's and that's because the Boeing Starliner capsule that they went up in, that it was only a test run, has a malfunction, and they can't use it to get back to Earth, and they can't just jettison it because the only way to disconnect it from the space station is for someone to actually be in it.
Uh-huh.
So they've and the whole thing could be sorted out with a quick call to certain Eurasian country that we're currently having a bit of a spat with. But yeah, of course, nobody's going to do that. So those poor astronauts are stuck there.
Yeah, because they'll have a Soyuz sitting on the launch pad ready to go, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and the Russians, they've been when the US retired the space shuttle,
Hmm.
they had to rely on the Russians to get them into space. It's only really been since this Ukraine thing that all of that cooperation with the Russians has stopped. And I mean, to be honest, I find the whole American space program very, very strange because I mean they went to the moon 50 years ago and
Allegedly.
allegedly and have never been back and have destroyed all of their notes and equipment and all of
and
their plans and everything else that let them get to the moon.
and videotape and
Hmm.
recordings, and I mean the only thing they kept were the photographs, I believe,
Yeah.
and some of the
Um,
film.
and some of the moon rocks, but then those
Yeah.
moon rocks have been analyzed. I think there was a duck, the one that they
The
gave
one in
to the
Holland is wood.
Netherlands,
Yeah.
and it was petrified wood,
Yeah.
which obviously didn't come from the moon. Um, but then they have the space shuttle, and okay, they had some accidents and it's expensive, but it works. And I mean, the space shuttle was pretty effective for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they retire that, but they don't have a replacement for it. And then they create this unmanned space plane that goes up for years at a time, without any clue as to what it's doing or anything else. And then they kind of question why some of us have trust issues with NASA, and I mean obviously with the US government, but it's just bonkers. I don't get it at all. And it doesn't look good for Boeing either.
So right. Um Nick to read us, is the volume better now? Are we more balanced? Soldier, good to see you. Hope to have you on the show next week. We had a little chat earlier today, as I said to the chat room earlier. Um, and it's always better to just talk face to face because working on Twitter just doesn't work. I just tend to get too grumpy and give people really facetious and off the cuff remarks. But yeah, 122 decibels. That's quite loud. But yeah. yeah, so we'll have a chat next week, and that should be quite interesting. I'm looking forward to that. It's not a fight. It's not a fight, militant. Calm down, calm down. And if we did have to fight, what we'd do is we'd throw in a couple of dwarfs to do it for us. Right. No, but we'll
Yeah, that
hopefully do it at
astronaut
night. Actually, right. Sorry.
I
Go
looked
on,
it up.
Bed.
Yeah,
Bed.
the astronaut's called Sunita Williams, and
Mhm.
she's got something called space anemia.
Oh,
So
cool.
so her blood is breaking down.
Well, I don't mean cool, but yeah, that sounds pretty
Yeah,
gross.
space anemia is a condition observed in astronauts during and after extended space missions. Unlike anemia on Earth, which is often caused by nutritional deficiencies or chronic disease, anemia is primarily due to the body's adaptation to the unique environment of space.
Yeah,
And it's
but she's only been up there for like a couple of weeks.
but no, but the thing is that if she's going to be stuck there until February, that because it's like when they do, I mean, obviously before anyone goes into space, they have to go through medical tests and things like that. And so, whilst they might have known about a problem,
Right.
if the
So,
person's if you're only going to be there for 2 weeks, that's
yeah,
different from if you're going
no.
to be there for 6 months.
Let me stop you right there, okay? Because we're not really a spacefaring race yet. Would you agree? It's a bit hit and miss.
Close.
It's a bit.
We got no business being in space.
Yeah, but we're not a spacefaring race. It's pretty hit and miss, you know. I mean, if this was the ocean, we're putting dinghies out there. We don't have like aircraft carriers yet, right? So if they know she's got a problem, then they should not have put her up there, because you don't know whenever, especially in an untested aircraft, which is that Boeing Starliner thing. So they're out of order putting her up there, because you don't know when something's going to go wrong, and exactly this has happened. It's gone wrong. You know?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure that they knew that it was going to be a problem before she went up there. I don't know.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Alphabet Cat. It could have been worse. She could have had a face hugger. Well, maybe she has. Maybe this is a story, a cover up. You know, maybe she's got a little baby alien growing inside her. She's ready to bust forth from her chest.
Yeah, but why the hell would aliens invade the bloody space station?
Well, why not? Well, let's talk about it. So anyway, we go back to Trump and his Space Force. Why create a Space Force? Was it all just like hype and jingoism and yay, let's go America, we'll take over space, we are Team America, World Police and Space Police? Is that it? Is that the story?
I think the ostensible reason was to consolidate space-related functions that the US military was doing some of them and NASA was doing some of them, and roll them all up into one agency. And I think to some extent it might also have been, I mean, obviously there might be some sort of reason why. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was to pilot the super secret alien spaceships that they've been developing for the last 80 odd years. I mean, that would be one conspiracy theorist's explanation. Not that I'm not saying that I believe that.
Yeah, I know.
But it does. I mean, why have a space force if the only people that are regularly in space are astronauts? Unless, I mean, when Gary McKinnon, that hacker from, I think it's like 20 years ago, and he got himself into lots of trouble because he managed to get it. He managed to get into the US's secure router network because they just didn't bother changing their passwords. And he got caught because he was actually trying to help them, because he left a message on one of their sysadmins' workstations, I think, essentially saying, "Look, mate, you've got some problems. You need to change your passwords." And they tracked him down and tried to extradite him, and there was a whole back and forth about that.
That's not quite the story I saw. I saw that he was downloading a photograph, and he knew that they were in the room because he knew they'd come back into the room or something, and he was waiting for the photograph to download. And do you remember? Do you remember in the old days back in the like 80s when photographs used to download online at a time? I mean, imagine trying to download a movie then. It would have taken you like 3 years, you know?
or more.
Yeah, because, I mean, a single image, literally, you could watch a single image coming down and it could take, what, 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even longer? It just used to take ages. So, anyway, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they
One of the
remanded
things
him.
that he supposedly found was a list
Mhm.
of extraterrestrial officers,
Yes, that's correct.
which I mean, maybe that's Space Force. Who knows?
Yeah, so maybe it's just formalized what we already had.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or it could be just some, because the thing about the US military is that you constantly have these officers who kind of move up through the ranks, and then once you get to a certain rank, you need to have your own command. And so maybe they were just creating more military commands just to keep the military industrial complex happy. Who knows?
It's possible. It's possible. Right, let's go back in time even further. Then let's go back to World War II and the Foo Fighters. Do you remember the Foo Fighters? And I don't mean the group.
Yeah.
I mean these
But
things that used to follow bombers and fighters on their raids over Germany.
yeah, I mean, it's the first modern reports of what we would now call UFOs or UAPs
Mhm.
were Foo Fighters, and it was bomber crews, US, British, and it was they'd see these lights following them and doing things that random lights just shouldn't be doing in the
So
skies of the 1940s.
so we didn't have terribly efficient radar then, and these things didn't appear on the radar, I believe. So I'm
No,
leaning towards those being plasma. You know, like ball
they didn't.
lightning.
Yeah, they didn't behave. I mean, the ball lightning explanation is the one that
I'm not
is
saying ball
commonly
lightning though.
well, but even plasma. All of the pilots report these objects moving
Mhm.
in a way that suggested that
Consciousness.
yeah, that there was something
So what's
intelligent moving them.
yeah, right. So what's to say there isn't a degree of consciousness available to plasma? The fourth state of matter. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, when one tries to define consciousness, if you find it very difficult, right? Because
So
where does
mhm,
consciousness exist? You know, and then when you look at animals, and I mean, you would say if you had a cat, would your seagull that displays a degree of consciousness, does it not? Does
yeah.
it not?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're actually highly intelligent birds. They're also bloody
That,
annoying.
but don't confuse intelligence with consciousness, right? So, so while they may have some intelligence, they also, I would think, display a degree of consciousness because
Yeah, of course they do.
they adapt to their environment, they move away and from danger and towards food and all that sort of stuff. But then if you keep going down, the food chain, that even applies to single-celled amoebas. They react to their environment. They move towards food sources. They try and defend themselves if they're being eaten. So, do single-celled organisms display a degree of consciousness? Now, if they display a degree of consciousness, what's then to stop us continuing down the food chain, so to speak, into atoms, into molecules, into atoms, into
Yeah, but
parts
if
of
this
atoms?
okay,
So then you have plasma, which is, as they say, the fourth state of matter. Why isn't there an explanation that there could be a degree of consciousness received by the plasma? In which case it would then be able to act, in a conscious manner.
I'm
That,
not discounting. I mean, I'm not discounting the possibility, but if it's some sort of plasma consciousness, then why isn't it more common to start with? Why have these? I mean, UFO sightings changed quite a lot after the 1940s, and these sort of glowing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm struggling
no,
with the
no.
whole
Right.
plasma
So
consciousness theory.
forget putting everything in one box here. I think what we have is we have a variety of different phenomena, and I think plasma consciousness or plasma could be an answer for some of it, but not all of it. You know, because you get UFOs that apparently hit the ground or land, and there's very little interaction with the ground surface. You know, you see people saying that a UFO's come down in a group of trees or whatever, like Rendlesham or something like that, and there's really nothing there. There's only like scorch marks on the ground. Now that might indicate that there was some kind of plasma event. Whereas
Well, I mean,
if
there's just
something,
traces of radiation.
well, exactly, so that could be some kind of plasma event, right? Because what is plasma if not some kind of electromagnetic, conglomeration of matter, of hard light? I mean, I don't know. I'm shooting the breeze here.
Sure. I mean, the thing about plasma is that you're making me think of something that one of my military commentators said once about hypersonic missiles and
Mm.
why the hypersonic missiles can't be tracked and they can't be intercepted because when they're traveling that fast, the air gets so hot that it actually creates a
Yeah,
bubble of plasma around the missile.
yeah,
So in theory, following your idea through, perhaps these craft were moving through the air in such a way that the plasma was just the outside shell of whatever it was, and that there was actually something solid inside.
it's possible. That is possible. Well, I don't know if it's possible. It's a theory, you know. So
I just find it interesting that after the 1940s, from pretty much from Roswell on, and the rash of sight, because Roswell didn't happen in isolation. It was part of a whole massive raft of sightings of craft around the United States in that time period. Um, but in World War II, the pilots talked about these glowing balls that were flying around and following their planes and all this kind of
yeah,
thing. But then in the late 1940s, those stories basically they go from glowing balls to actually silvery disc slash saucer shaped craft. I mean, that's why they're originally called flying saucers.
yeah, but they were called flying. They were misnamed because they weren't even described as saucer shaped. They were described as skipping across the air or the sky like a line of saucers.
Hmm.
Because they were originally meant to be kind of almost delta shaped craft, and but people, you know, hung on the word saucer, and then ever since then they've been described as round. You know, which kind of makes you think: are they a figment or are they a manifestation of our actual consciousness? Are we making them? Because there are so many people on the earth looking up at the sky, watching for flying saucers, and some of us see them.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I think that I mean, if you look at UFO sightings, they do seem to go together. But
Yeah,
then we now have, I mean, we've now got like Phoenix lights, which have actually been seen again. I
yep,
think it was last week, there were some people from Phoenix that taking some camera phone pictures of big triangular shaped lights. And I mean, that delta shaped triangle UFO is a really common one. But then there's also stories that suggest that that's actually secret military tech.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that triangular thing that goes, that seems to be massive and flies across countries like I mean, they chased it across Belgium, didn't they? So that thing seems there's a good argument to suggest that maybe that is military tech.
I've always thought whenever I hear UFO reports of the big black triangle, my first thought is always that's some sort of secret military tech of some description.
Yeah, yeah, because
And
I
I mean,
mean,
I mean, maybe some sort of advanced stealth craft. I'm not necessarily talking UFO levels of like anti-gravity and stuff, but it's always described as being absolutely silent, and has the ability to move very quickly in ways that conventional aircraft can't.
yeah. So 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 far we've got possible plasma, possible consciousness, or in effect a mass hysteria event, right? Which which could account for something like the Brazilian village type thing. You know, the Amazonian village, or was it Brazil or Peru? You know, when everybody suddenly thought there were aliens in the woods.
Hmm.
You know, and they all freaked out, and then they were shooting at them, and they had a gun battle with a bunch of trees because they never found any dead aliens. You know, um,
I think someone was dropping some magic mushrooms in there. Lunchtime stew or
they might
something.
have had some ayahuasca. Yeah. So yeah. So then so that's us got what would you call it? Miltech, mass hysteria, consciousness, and plasma. That's has got 4 things already. Okay.
Well, have you forgot Nazis?
Sorry.
You forgot the space Nazis,
Well,
like
yeah.
the
Well,
Hannibal. Because
and
who's to say that those Foo Fighters weren't some sort of secret tech that the Germans were messing around with? I mean,
uh-huh, uh-huh. And then we can go back to last week. Was it only last week that we were doing time travel?
hmm
So we go back to time travelers from the future. Because if they came back from the future, they'd come back with, you would think, an increased level of technology that would maybe to us look like something that was breaking the laws of physics.
easily,
Yeah.
easily. I mean, you could apply that to the things that we take for granted now. But if you showed that, I don't know, a mobile phone or even just something like wireless headphones. If you took a pair of wireless headphones back 150 years, um, they would think it was bloody witchcraft or
Oh,
something.
if you took a pair of wireless headphones to a Papua New Guinean tribe, they would probably think it was witchcraft.
Mm.
Because I mean, what was it? Arthur C. Clarke that said any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah.
It was either him or Asimov. I can't remember exactly what one. So yeah. So now we've got time travelers in the mix as well, and of course that leads us to that possibly leads us to portals through time. Why would you take a fully laden aircraft? I think it's a stretch. Unless there were people on it that you needed. Don't know.
Well, I mean, that's yeah. The only reason that you would hijack or kidnap or make disappear an aircraft was because you wanted all of some or more of the people on board that aircraft alive.
Yeah.
Um, but you wanted them gone without a trace. You didn't want families looking for them or anything like that. I guess
Why?
maybe there's I don't know.
Why? No. Why do you want to be a moderator, soldier? Oh, there you go, mate. Knock yourself out. You're a moderator.
Start randomly banning people now.
Don't be bad. Don't be an authoritarian Starmer like moderator.
Oh dear. Britmate identifies as a moderator. That's all right then.
I mean, we've got such a good troll room, to be fair, that we could probably make everyone a moderator and it wouldn't make any difference.
Oh, they just start fighting and banning each other.
Well, maybe.
It would be carnage.
Carnage. Oh, he wanted to be blue. That's what it was, didn't he? He wanted to be blue. Right. Where are we? Now, here's the biggie. Here's the two biggies. What if it is aliens? Okay. What if some of them are aliens? Actual bona fide skinny bobs, right? And they're here in the solar system. And they've been here in the solar system. This is probably the scariest scenario, I would say, because this is even more scary than the military having the tech.
How could it possibly be more scary than everything that's going on this idiotic planet right now?
Because if there are aliens here, right, in the solar system and have been observing us for God knows how many years, decades, hundreds, whatever, because we do have, as we talked about last week, we do have evidence, or what appears to be evidence in historical paintings and things, of stuff in the air that look like flying saucers, and then you've got the carvings on the Egyptian pyramid, temple type stuff. So there,
satellite.
yeah, the Vedas, so there's all that. So there's a load of stuff that would indicate that maybe aliens, if they exist, and are here and are observing us, and if they're observing us, then what are we but a zoo? Are we their zoo?
Or some sort of strange soap opera. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we're just entertainment.
Well, that's what I mean.
Well,
yeah.
Well, let's hypothesize. You're this super advanced alien civilization. You've conquered space. You've conquered time. You've conquered pretty much the whole universe.
Jesus Christ! You know what we are?
Anywhere and do anything. So what do you do for entertainment?
We're a fucking episode of EastEnders. That's what we are. We're a soap opera. I'm going to watch Earth tonight. Yeah. Let's see what those clowns are up to. Oh my God. That could be it, mate. I mean, it fits on so many levels, doesn't it? What are you doing tonight? Are you going down the pub? No, I'm going to watch Earth. Going to watch Earth tonight. Getting quite spicy. They might be about to kill themselves, in a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I think we've just solved it.
Well, I mean, if you look at Starmer, he's definitely an alien. I'm sorry. He's so robotic. He's like,
oh my God.
I have to wonder if he's even a real person.
Oh, fucking hell. I never thought I would end up a soap opera actor.
Yeah, but we're not even getting paid for it. It's ridiculous.
Oh, hey, maybe you're getting paid for it in life. Well, oh my God, that's so fucking depressing, isn't it?
Basically, what you're saying is that our entire existence is just to be unpaid actors in some alien soap opera where they just play these dumb monkeys off against each other just to see what idiotic stuff they end up doing.
Well, think about it, right? I mean, even the guys that play actors in good movies, like, and I'm thinking off the top of my head, like Tom Cruise or something like that. Okay, so even people that have got big parts, they're just pretending to be somebody for other people's entertainment. So why do we even look up to them? I don't understand that. Why do we look up to people that play pretend for a living? And then if we find, I know we don't, but why do people do that? Because they do. They listen to what people that play pretend for a fucking living say. Why do people do that?
Because they conflate the actors and the parts that they play.
Yeah.
And I mean, and when you actually think about, it sort of struck home with that Jim Caviezel because
Yeah.
I'm really into personal interest, and he in that he comes across as quite erudite, not necessarily super intelligent, but when you actually I saw him giving an interview relating to that film that he released. I can't remember the name. Sound
Oh,
of
Sound of Freedom.
That's the one.
Have you seen that?
No.
It's possibly one of the top 3 worst films I've ever seen. It's awful, and Shalini will back me up on this. It's absolutely awful, and he's awful in it. You know?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I just remember him giving the interview, and he could barely string
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 words together. It's not doesn't I don't know. Sometimes you wonder with these actors if they don't have a script to read. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you get people like George Clooney that seems to want to be president or something. That's pally pally with Obama. But
Yeah.
even then, it's still I don't know. But I agree with you. I don't understand why we worship or people these empty, vacuous idiots are put up on pedestals for the masses to adore and worship and copy and everything else. Because you
Do you think there are aliens out there then that are watching this shit show going on right now and going, "Hey, Porter's on tonight. Let's watch him."
it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if
he
you look at
normally
someone like
he normally says things that are quite sensible. I like to listen to him. Yeah, yeah.
but,
Fuck
but then
me.
yeah,
Oh.
but when you look at someone like Sam Smith, you
Yeah.
just you just know. I mean, you just know that there's something seriously wrong. Seriously,
Yeah, yeah. I
because
mean, I haven't watched a soap opera for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Um, so I don't know what kind of things that they are dealing with these days, but I'm
it's
pretty
the same
much,
bullshit that it was 5 or 6 years ago. You just rewrite
yeah,
whatever the script is for the current narrative. So
yeah,
right now they'll be dealing with kids that think boys that think they're
yeah.
girls, girls that think they're boys. There's probably little bits of Ukraine thrown in there for good measure. They'll all be talking about climate change because climate change is
It's a
obviously
bad
a big
thing,
thing.
bad thing, bad thing,
Um,
bad,
and also
bad.
everybody will be woke and politically correct and about as funny as a plank because you just can't be funny and woke at the same time. Doesn't work. Um, and I just yeah, I think I've probably just summed up most soap operas.
It's, it's quite depressing to think you might be a bit part player in a shitty play.
And but being laughed at by aliens and just
Mocked.
yeah, it's like the Truman Show, but a whole planet.
Yeah.
It's just really bloody depressing.
Yeah,
I
that is
think they should just
depressing.
need to cancel it. Just wipe the whole bloody lot out in a big ball of fire.
Well, let's get to the last thing on my. I think we've done mil tech, haven't we? We've done military
Mhm.
tech, but let's go to this last thing. What about organic non-human intelligence from this planet?
Okay, are we talking something this planet as in Hollow Earth or something? Or are you
Well,
talking this planet
possibly.
as in super advanced?
Could be Hollow Earth, could be under the water or something. I mean, there's shitloads of stuff under the ocean that you still don't know what's going on there. You know, I mean, look at some of the
Big time.
stuff. Look at some of the stuff down there. You just don't have
And
a
also,
clue.
that's one of the interesting things about some of the UAPs is that they've been seen to come in and out of
Yeah.
water, and actually, what's more interesting is that the water doesn't seem to slow them down at all.
No, which is quite weird. So that would
Um,
maybe your
mhm.
plasma bubble thing. Then that might take account into that, because would that effectively displace the water instantly? I don't know.
I don't
I don't know
know.
what happens when a plasma bubble hits water.
I don't. Probably lots of steam, maybe an explosion. I don't know. It would have to be more likely some kind of energy field around the craft of some description.
But
I mean, it could be.
yeah.
I mean, maybe potentially some sort of very slight dimensional shift where it appears to still be in our reality, but it's not actually hampered by things in our reality like solid objects or water.
Yeah.
Good question.
It's quite difficult, isn't it? I think there could be a combination of all of these things, all of the above. It really could
It's
be. And then
entirely
of course
possible.
there's a really, really big one, right? Aliens from out with the solar system that actually do have the capability of traveling here on a whim. Because that is a level of technology that just blows us completely out of the water.
Well, there might be physics that we haven't discovered yet
Yeah.
that we can't even comprehend. I mean, if you took something like nuclear physics to a scientist 200 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
um, they would have no conception of splitting atoms because they wouldn't even know what atoms were.
Yeah.
And the same is probably true for us. I mean, maybe it's
Well,
like dark
no, I
matter.
mean, right, let's be honest. The same is definitely true for us because let's face it, we actually still don't know if electrons exist or not. We're still arguing
Mhm.
about it, you know? And if
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
if we're arguing about if electrons exist or not, we're still arguing about whether photons exist or not, right?
Mhm.
Because you know my theory on that. I don't think photons exist. I think it's a perturbation of the media. And you know, it's just like nobody has a. I mean, we don't even know how the sun actually works
No.
because we think it's fusion, but we don't know. You know.
There's plenty of arguments that suggest there's much more electromagnetic stuff
Mhm.
happening on the sun rather than it being this big exploding ball of fire. That it's actually some sort of something else that's not exploding fire, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm 100% with you because we we don't. There's so much we don't know
It's
that
like the
we could
periodic
deliver.
table.
Yeah, we could
Hmm.
deliver. We could suddenly deliver. You know, warp drive tomorrow if
Well,
somebody makes a breakthrough.
sure. I mean, it's one of the what's his name? Oh, that oh Christ, his name escapes me. He's really famous. He was the guy that leaked Area 51. Oh, crying out loud!
Lear?
I can't-
No.
No,
Oh,
no,
what's his name? Greer?
no, no.
No.
Had the glasses, nerdy guy. He's like a literal rocket science. Oh, it's going to bug me now. Um, but he's basically claimed
Bob Lazar?
that's the one, Bob
Right.
Lazar.
Thank you, Brit, mate.
Um, but he describes an element. What was the name of it? Element X
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
right. I remember that.
But
Yeah.
he basically said that it's this element that enables the these craft to do what they do, and that
Yeah.
it's related to anti-gravity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's not naturally occurring on Earth. So if you have an alien civilization that happens to have natural deposits of a particular element that we know nothing about, which has properties that enable it to be used for over unity energy or anti-gravity or something like that, and this alien civilization builds itself up around this particular element, then
Yeah.
they could
Excuse
easily
me.
have capabilities that we know nothing about, and potentially develop a lot faster as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anything's possible.
It is, isn't it? It's like it's all just there's just so much.
But once
And
you, I mean, that's why the rabbit holes are interesting.
yeah, yeah, I know. It's a bit overwhelming at times though. Especially
Yeah,
when you think you might be a bit part player in a galactic soap opera.
Yeah, you
I hadn't
do.
really
You
thought
do.
of that one, mate. You know, that was taking me by surprise.
Yeah. Or we could have loads of time travelers just screwing around randomly just for shits and giggles. Or maybe someone went back and broke something in the distant past and they've spent hundreds of years trying to fix it or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, seriously, when the world is as seemingly crazy as it is, um, I'm prepared to entertain any possibility. The only thing that I demand is that whatever, I'm not going to settle on agreeing that something is true
Uh-huh.
unless I see some pretty good fucking evidence for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, you know, after I think you've got to ask for some kind of proof for these things because you can't take people at their word anymore.
No, you
Especially
can't.
not
I
if they're
mean,
a politician.
even videos and pictures these days. I mean, if you look at how easy it is to
I
create
know.
an AI video or pictures, okay, the commercially available AI systems, particularly the image generators, don't always do a great job. But given that
It's early doors,
secret
so
tech, well, they always say that the stuff that is hidden, the secret stuff, is 20 years ahead of
yeah.
what we get in the public arena.
Mm-hmm.
So if the secret tech has got an AI that is
Yeah.
20 years more advanced than the ones that are commercially available,
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, maybe that is, I don't know. maybe maybe all the videos that we see of all these politicians, it's all just AI and it's just these aliens screwing around with us. It's like these maybe the talking heads on screens are really just talking heads on screens.
Yeah.
Possible.
It's possible, isn't it?
That's kind of mind blowing when you stop and think
And
about it.
it's starting to get to the ridiculous point now that, you know, anything you see online, you've got to question it, especially video now. Because I mean, people have been manipulating video for years, but now, when you saw that, you know, the Trump at the door thing and Hillary and all that, it's like, you know, what have you seen those videos? Yeah. So what? Where do you draw the line? It's going to be you used to say, you know, don't believe everything you hear, and or don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. Well, it's got
Well,
to that. It's got past that stage now, hasn't it?
yeah, completely. But I mean, you still have to engage your critical thinking,
You do.
and it's
Yeah.
like if you see a video of um someone famous doing something that they're really not likely to do,
Hmm.
um, then you have to question whether that's actually a real video. I mean, it's the same with imagery. Um, but at the same time, it's difficult because if you start just discounting everything, you can't discount everything, but you
No, you
can't believe
can't.
everything either.
You can't. You can't. And that's why, like you said earlier, you need some kind of evidence that's going to back you up.
Hmm.
You know, because I mean, you walk out the door and you don't see anything that people are talking about on Twitter, or you see very little of it. Very little of it.
That's true.
You know, it's a different world when you walk out the door.
Yeah, but most of them just seem blissfully unaware of it. I mean, I was in the pub last night,
Hmm.
and it was a gathering of like fellow right wing subversive conspiracy theorist type people. And I mean, we're all sitting there about talking about Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset and all of the stuff that's going on in the world. And
Yeah,
if you listen to snippets of conversations from the people around you,
yeah.
they are literally all talking about mundane, inane,
Football.
unimportant, yeah, football, celebrities, just like day to day live things. They're all just kind of wrapped up in their little bubbles and just, in most cases, don't even have any idea of what's going on in the world. Yeah, they might vaguely know that there's some stuff happening in Ukraine without
Yeah.
necessarily knowing what. Um, and it's the same with the government. I mean, it's mind blowing. It really is. And then it makes you realize why the country is in the state that it's in. Is because people are just not engaged. I mean, the media and school and culture has just disengaged people from politics.
Yeah.
Um, and they're not interested. They're much more interested in what Kim Kardashian is doing than they are in what Vladimir Putin is doing.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, I, yeah, difficult one.
It's crazy, mate. It's
But
absolutely.
you can't get through to them either. I don't know if
No,
you
you can't break that down, can you? Because
no.
they 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 don't want to know. That's the thing. They
Well,
don't.
ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, and ignorance to a degree, I suppose. I've always said that. You know, if I've always wondered what it's like to be content.
That's why. That's why the Matrix, the first Matrix
Yeah.
movie, was one of the most, probably one of the most powerful films I've ever watched, in terms of how much that film made me think about the nature of reality and the nature of existence, and the
Mm.
parallels. Because if you look at, it's that there is almost a clear distinction between two types of people. You've got us lot who are basically unplugged. It's actually a better description than awake.
Yeah.
Is that
The
we're not plugged.
unplugged.
Yeah, we're not plugged into the matrix anymore,
We are
and we
the
realize that
unplugged.
it's this
I like that.
computer generated dream world.
I'm going to make a song about the unplugged now.
And then on the other hand, you've got the normies who are the NPCs. I mean, we even call them NPCs.
Yeah, I know.
And that's, I mean, that's so much like the Matrix. And any one of those, and we saw it during COVID even more, where any one of those normies could suddenly have an agent pop out of them. If you weren't wearing a mask where you were supposed to wear a mask, or you weren't following the pretty little arrows on the floor where you were supposed to, and all of that nonsense, then suddenly one of these normal bystanders would turn into Agent Smith.
Yeah, they would. It's like something that was like Donald Sutherland from what was it? Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah. But that and that's what it was like. I mean, it's like the world in 2024 is this weird mashup of V for Vendetta and The Matrix.
Yeah, I think I'm going to
Uh,
rewatch V for Vendetta.
I that's one film that I recommend everyone watches at least once a year, just
Yeah,
to remind yourself of it, because and you could watch it now, and it's okay. The character names are all different, and
yeah,
it's a tyranny of the right instead of a tyranny of the left that takes over Britain. But that whole making up a disease to lock everyone down and terrify everyone into submission, that's what we've seen over the last 4 years. And I mean, that's what's still going on.
hmm
Because now the government doesn't want us to be afraid of a virus. It wants us to be afraid of each other and of the government,
oh yeah,
because they could just come along and arrest us and lock
yeah.
us up just for posting something they
You
don't like on
will
Twitter.
feel the full force of the law.
Mm. And it's like, for a new prime minister to come in and stuff like that happens, and then instead of appealing for national unity and saying, look, let's try and start, we've got a new government, we want to try and fix some of these problems, let's sit down and
Hmm.
work out what we need to do. It's instantly no. If you disagree with anything we say, you're a right-wing extremist and we're going to come and get you. We'll accuse you
Yeah,
of inciting riots or
watched a
whatever.
watched a Dutch girl on YouTube, not slagging the UK, just pointing out that the UK now, it was basically illegal to disagree with the government on pain of being thrown in jail, and
Mm.
and that's what they're trying to. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to make you self-police yourself. They're trying to make you not speak out against the government, and that's why I think every I've been making like 2 videos a week now about two-tier care. For the intros, because I think that's a brilliant kind of subversive,
we need it now more than ever.
commentary.
I mean, the more authoritarian the government gets, the more we need to not comply with them. Even and even if it's just small acts of thumbing your nose at authority. I'm not saying obviously ignore important things like traffic rules, things like that.
Well, I tell you what, I went to the library the other day, right? I went into the library and I thought, this is quite nice. And here, I could sit in here in the winter when it's cold and I wouldn't be cold, because it's open 9 till 5. I thought, this might be quite a nice place to spend a couple of hours. I could read a book or whatever. And I could even borrow a few books. So I goes up to the desk and the woman goes, "Can I help you?" And I goes, "What would one require to be able to get a library card?" She goes, "You just need something with your name and address printed on it, like a bill." I goes, "I don't have anything like that because I live in a van." And she goes, "Oh, right, okay. We could probably get around it." And I thought, I like this woman straight away. And she goes, "What do you do with your driving license and stuff like that?" And I goes, "Well, I just get it sent to a mailing address." And she goes, "That's fine. We'll just use that." And, she was an older woman. She was like, she must have been in her 60s or whatever. And I thought, yeah, she's switched on. She goes, "Who's around things?" That's what we need. We need that everywhere.
It's going to develop. This is the thing that authoritarians never seem to understand.
Yeah.
Is that if you look at every single authoritarian society, there's always a black market and there's always an underground. And the more authoritarian and repressive it becomes, the bigger the black market gets. And people will basically just tell the authorities whatever the hell they want to hear, and then just go off and do what they want and do what they've always been doing. And I think it's the same with Britain, because this island has certain distinctive characteristics. I mean, and I think that the government thinks that they've got such good control over the media and the courts and the judges and the police and everything else that they can just do what they want. But that's not how it works, because people inherently want to be free. Simple.
They want to be left alone, and that's the problem. I mean, when I lived in France, every small business in France has 2 sets of books. They've got the book for the government and the book for themselves, and France is incredibly bureaucratic. I had no idea till I got there, right? It's incredibly bureaucratic, right? They get laws and, forms for everything and weird ways of doing things. But every small business has 2 books. They have one book that's if you pay for something by a check and they use checks all the time in France, right? In fact, you can only pay for certain government services by the use of a check. But yeah, trust me, we tried to pay the water bill, couldn't pay it because we didn't have a checkbook. So we left France with an unpaid water bill. I'll probably have a mark against me if I ever try and go back to France, Arrest him. He's got an outstanding bill for €109.
Well, mate, at the rate both France and the UK are going, you should expect to knock on the door any freaking day,
Well, yeah, but since we left the EU, the meshing was reduced. But,
yes, but our most munificent and magnificent dear leader is.
I know.
Wheedle our way back into the EU without anybody paying attention.
Yeah, and I mean that. But by the same token, right? People like Turkey are fighting against the EU or Hungary. I mean, look at was it Hungary? They gave him a fine. I think it's a €200 million fine for not complying with the immigration law. And basically they said that's fine. Every immigrant that comes to Turkey will put on a bus and send to Brussels.
Hungary.
Hungary, yeah. Every immigrant that comes to Hungary will put on a bus and send to Brussels. That's the way to
The thing
do
with
it.
the
You know,
Turks,
protect your
I think,
borders.
sure. I mean, I think the Turks are done with the EU because the EU has basically just treated them
Turks done with
really,
NATO as well.
really well. Yeah, and I mean, they're seeing what's happening with BRICS. They're seeing with which way the EU is going. I mean, if I was Erdogan, I wouldn't be interested in joining the EU anymore. I'd be trying to get into BRICS.
Yeah, definitely. I think. Well, I think. I'm not going to touch on it tonight, but I'm doing a lot of digging around Islam and the whole situation in the Middle East, and it's opened my eyes quite a lot as to what's going on there, and it's quite interesting because it goes way beyond just Israel and Palestine.
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, Islam isn't a big monolithic entity like a lot of people think it is.
Oh,
I
there's
mean,
so
there's a
many
whole lot of.
different sects.
I
Yeah,
mean, to
but
start with, you have the Sunni and the Shia,
yeah,
and those two have spent more time fighting each other
they
than they
have,
spent fighting anyone else.
yeah. So
Um,
it's quite interesting, and
mhm. But there's also the Sufi mysticism is fascinating as well.
yeah, yeah. And
'Cause, I mean, that's
there's other sects as well, but that it, it is quite interesting the way that things are panning out there, and certainly I had my eyes opened about Saudi Arabia because I've been digging into MBS, and that's quite interesting as well. I might make a video on them. Although the last time I did a deep dive video on someone like when I did that deep dive video on how the Ukraine war started, I ended up with a community strike because I told the truth.
you don't like. You can't handle the truth.
No, they can't handle the truth, mate. Because
But it's
I
I
can't
mean,
even say it,
but
can I?
to me, this is one of the big reasons the world is in the state that it's in, particularly the Western world. It's
Mhm,
because of all of the censorship.
mhm.
People are making bad decisions because they're getting bad information, and as a result, those bad decisions end up compounding on themselves, and we end up where we are.
Yeah, hmm yeah,
And
you're
it's
right.
it's just it doesn't help anything just because you disagree with someone. And I think, to be honest, I think that was why, like, RT was banned, for example,
Mm.
was because people can't be allowed to have a different perspective. Because when the narrative is the only thing that you've got holding your whole corrupt edifice together, then the narrative has to be maintained at all costs.
I mean,
And
I get a lot of the what I think is a fairly reasoned look at what's going on from the Hindustan Times. Because they don't really have they don't have skin in the game, so they tend to give you it from both sides, and it certainly doesn't tie in with, for instance, the Times of London. Because according to that, Ukraine's on a runaway win here.
that's what they have to believe. I mean, I've just finished reading just actually before we came on, I just finished reading an article by Alex Kramer,
Yeah,
about how Britain's literally on the verge of collapse financially,
yeah.
because it's all tied up in Ukrainian bonds, and essentially the government has put us way above our heads in the Ukraine thing. They've given Ukraine far too much money.
hmm
They've guaranteed loans that are never going to be repaid. And also, British financial institutions have been buying loads of Ukrainian government bonds, which are soon to be worthless. And I mean, Zelensky's already said they're not
Oh
paying
no,
their
no, no.
what are they called, coupons or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so
Um,
and why are we still pouring good money after bad? Why are we still doing it? It's
well, because
crazy.
the government has gotten themselves and the country into so much trouble with it that essentially we're looking at the collapse of the financial systems, the banks, the pension
hmm
funds, the whole thing, pretty much. And so they're essentially trying to keep that whole grift going, when actually there are, I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe it would be good if the existing edifice just collapsed and then we could put something better in its place. But you know that damn well that's not going to happen because of the caliber of people we've got in charge. Because ultimately,
Yeah,
all of the problems that we've got are the result of 30 plus years of absolutely piss poor government at every level you can think of.
you're right. You're right. Oh, good grief. Oh.
I'll shut up now because I'm ranting.
No, not at all. Mark Andrew Chapman says on the subject of UAP, why after years of strict denial, why a rebrand? From UFO, an admission of evidence of military encounters of Tic Tacs, etc. I don't believe that disclosure is imminent. So why?
Well, the term UAP first came up on my radar quite a few years ago,
Mhm.
and I think it was something that the U.S. military might have started using internally, um, because if you don't know what a UAP is, then two military officers could be having a conversation about a UAP, and someone that might happen to be eavesdropping on them wouldn't necessarily know that that's what they were actually talking about, a UFO.
Mhm.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and
It's
also
a good question, though.
if someone had discovered that there was some kind of multiple different types of UFOs and UAPs and plasma maybe was involved or some other thing, then
Mhm.
it kind of gives you an all encompassing thing because the plasma isn't necessarily flying as we think about it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it then becomes and especially you don't have to have. Well, I suppose you still have USOs, don't you?
Mhm.
Unidentified submersible objects, but yeah,
I mean,
I don't
some
know.
of the theories about how these things move, because there's a gravitational theory that goes where the craft itself isn't actually moving, but it's creating some sort of disturbance in
Oh God,
space time
it's
in
folding
front of it.
space, just like Dune.
Well, no, that's slightly different. That's essentially where you take 2 points in space
Yeah,
time and you somehow fold space time, and those 2 points get really close together, and then you can just hop, skip, and jump from one place to the other. But the gravity drive thing is where you create some sort of gravity disturbance in front of the craft, where the craft is effectively not falling, but it's being pulled towards this gravitational anomaly or whatever the hell it is. And so the craft itself isn't actually moving; it's being pulled.
yeah. So the secret of flying is falling without ever hitting the ground.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh God! Cold plasma is a Bose-Einstein condensate, is it? Oh my God! Now we're going deep.
I don't. I
I
vaguely know
think,
what a Bose-Einstein
yeah,
condensate is.
I'm not in the not in the wherewithal to. There's one thing we haven't talked about as far as the UAP's going. Dimensional craft.
Right. Yeah.
What if they're coming from different dimensions and they're just bleeding through?
Um, it's possible. I mean, there's some of the stories about UFO sightings around nuclear bases and stuff were that when humans started detonating atomic weapons, that actually impacts the these other dimensions. The effects of the explosion
Mm-hmm.
aren't just felt in our dimension, but it ripples through other dimensions as well and has negative impacts on them,
So
which is why some
wouldn't
don't.
you then expect there to be an awful lot of UFO or UAP activity around things like particle accelerators?
Yeah,
And is there?
not that I know of.
Yeah.
But I mean, nuclear weapon storage facilities and bases and stuff.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Ed's connection. It seems to be coming good and then dropping again. Because
Is it?
somebody said his Ed made out of Lego this week.
Is it my camera, or I mean, I haven't changed any of the
No,
video setup.
I've got a readout of your internet connection, and at the moment I've got 4 green bars, which is top of the range, but sometimes it dips down to like into the yellows, which I don't know.
Let me shut down other stuff I've got going on.
It's hard to tell. He's probably downloading porn or something.
How about no? I do that on another computer anyway.
He does that on his firewall computer, the one that's connected to the Pentagon.
No, don't think so.
Oh God. So where are we?
Interdimensional craft.
Yeah, interdimensional craft.
Well,
Colin.
I mean, it's as good an explanation for them as any.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps it would be, I don't know, maybe interstellar physics are such that it's actually easier to go through a different dimension. I don't know. But would those interdimensional travelers actually come from Earth in another dimension? Or is Earth here in all dimensions?
I mean, that's the thing. Are we? I mean, do other dimensions actually exist? Can you cross over the boundaries between them? Are there boundaries between them, or is it just a question of being? I mean, if we're we're 3-dimensional, really, right? Forget time. Effectively, we exist in 3 dimensions. So if someone existed in 4 dimensions, they could be sitting beside you and you couldn't know.
Yeah.
Or you might see a weird disturbance at some point when their plane crosses one of yours. And you're like...
Maybe that's what ghosts are.
Well, maybe. Although ghosts seem to be they seem to be remnants of what has gone before. It's like a stuck tape, because they seem to replay the same thing, don't they?
Well, that's why with ghosts, I think it's more likely to be someone's spirit that's trapped on this planet for whatever reason, or trapped in this earthly plane, than some. I mean, if it's an interdimensional.
So you say spirit?
Well, for lack of a better word.
So, like their disembodied consciousness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because there is some far out science which suggests that consciousness is separate from the body, and that the consciousness can exist outside of the body, and it's a non-local phenomenon. The body is just a host for the consciousness, rather than the consciousness being dependent on having a living body to survive, which is
So
I mean, what
yeah. I mean, I've had it described as like the TV set, and when the TV set stops working, the signal still keeps coming. It needs a properly tuned antenna to pick it up again, and maybe that happens when another child or something is born that has the right set of antenna, and boom, there you go, you're popped into that one. That's one way of looking at it.
It's possible. I mean, that's that reincarnation is what I mean. It kind of suggests that that's what happens. And I mean, it's like out of body experiences. If the consciousness was just dependent on the body, you would think that in a situation of like a medical emergency, where the body is actually technically you're dead for a few minutes, and you have a sensation of floating up above your body. I mean, there's one story where the person who had the out of body experience remembered the doctor who was working on them dropping an instrument, and that turned out to be true. So how does that work?
The even better ones, though, are the ones that have gone through the roof, actually through the ceiling, and then
Hmm.
are able to describe what's on the roof of the hospital in detailed accuracy, including in one point someone's sand shoe. Now, work that one out.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's things like that. It's also the stories of kids who remember past lives as well.
yeah.
And some of those, I mean, there's I can't remember the name of the film, but there was a film of someone who compiled a whole bunch of interviews with these kids.
Mhm.
Um, and they're so believable. I mean, there's no coaching there. There's no that this is something that's genuinely coming from this child, and there's absolutely no bloody way on earth that the child could know what it knows.
Yeah.
So where does that information come from if it's not actually from some soul that existed somewhere else and
Mhm.
was reincarnated?
Certainly possible. Well,
Hmm?
I don't
It's
know
quite
if
a
it's
comforting.
I don't know if it's possible, but
It's certainly more of a comforting thought than thinking that when you die, the lights just go out and that's it, and it's game
it's
over.
game over. Yeah, it certainly is. The big sleep.
Well, I tell you what, sometimes it seems preferable than Clown World.
Indeed. Indeed. But then, yeah, it's just like, it, it's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult to come to terms with what's going on in the world and why people are so stupid and why governments are so inept. And
Oh, I can relate.
I can't. The thing that gets me is right. There is I can't see a point in driving people down to the point where society collapses because it doesn't benefit anyone.
I don't think they're doing it deliberately.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
they're competent or
well, I think that yes, incompetence plays a big factor because you only have to look at the idiots in the new government
yeah, you do.
to realize that we're not dealing with um, like Mensa level genius people here. Um, I think it's compounded. I think we've had a succession of bad leaders going back 50 years who've compounded bad decisions. It's like, for example, the water companies. People say, "Oh, look, we should just nationalize water," for example. But what they don't realize is that most of our pension funds invested in water companies as a safe bet.
Hmm.
And the water company bosses have been essentially just sucking up the profits and paying themselves big bonuses, not doing any work on the network.
Hmm.
And now the network is falling to bits. So they have to essentially double. I mean, my water bill doubled from from this year to next year. Um, and it's totally insane. But if the government decided to renationalize water companies, you'd have pension funds collapsing.
Yeah,
And that's part of the problem. Certainly when it comes to Ukraine, um, where there's so much financial stuff meshed up together and so much debt. But we also, to be honest, if we're going to call it the way it is the banking cartel, because all of this is because of fiat money
yeah,
and
yeah,
debt based money and having a private Bank of England. Um, and that's, I mean, and the cancer is basically eating the host because the banking cartel doesn't care about the population of the country. They just want they're like Shylock. They just want their 30 pieces of silver or their pound of flesh. Yeah, it's a pound of flesh, not the 30 pieces of silver. Different, wrong metaphor.
yeah, yeah. So what's happening tomorrow?
Oh yeah, no, I'll come and do all in. Yeah, might as well.
Yay! Going all in tomorrow, people. Remember, if you like more of this, like, share, and subscribe. because you know you want to.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm tired. I'm tired.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think
Let's
that's
call it a
been.
night.
Let's call it a night, mate. It's been
Been
great.
fun.
It's been great. I've enjoyed myself. It's been lower
Me
key this week.
Mhm.
My energy levels have
everything
decreased.
everything seems a bit more subdued. I've noticed that last couple of days at least.
Yeah, well, old two-tier keyers having that effect on you probably, but you know,
Yeah, innit?
resist, fight the good fight.
Always.
Always.
Cool. Well, that's good. Hopefully see people tomorrow.
Yeah, we will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, 9 o'clock. And we'll be talking about all sorts of nonsense, probably of a similar vein, but then again, we might be talking about something. You never know what could happen overnight, you know? I mean, we could be.
World War III might have started by the time we get to our chat tomorrow, so we'll see what happens.
We might not even be here tomorrow. In that case, we'll see you on the other side. It's been great for you.
You can see the writing on the pavement. Young kids, they're growing up in basements. Online, a whole new generation. I'ma make mine, so you better go take it. Always, they need a new replacement. Decentralized, can't contain it. We're changing lives, yeah, upgrading. Call it suicide of the older generation. Too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah.